This is Dave Palumbo here with another installment of the history of bodybuilding, except this history we're going to be talking about is the anabolic steroid history. And joining us today is my compatriot in crime, John Romano, Mexican expert, and of course, our new friend who was on the show a couple weeks back, actually 2 months back to be exact, Cash Morone, who was talking to us a little bit about the brands of anabolics that they had back in the early 2000s. And guys, we're going to talk Mexican steroids because a lot of people want to know not what was going on 20 years ago, but what's going on today in the Mexican drug scene, especially with China being shut down now because of this coronavirus. There's no imports coming in from China now. It seems like Mexico seems to be the place to go to get your anabolics. What's out there? Tell us. John, let's start with you. What have you seen out there in Mexico that looks good, the bad, and the ugly?
My product looks good.
What's the name of your product?
Other than that, it's shit. And here's why. I'll get, I'm sure Cash will support this. Right now, back in the day in the pharmacies in Mexico, especially in the border towns like Nogales and Tijuana, you were able to get all kinds of shit from the pharmacy. That shit's dried up. They don't make. I think all you can get from the pharmacy anymore are Sustanon preloads, Deca preloads, Andriol, and Promotestin. I think even Sten is gone now.
Yep, Sten's gone. I actually showed a bottle of Sten that I found in a drawer from like 2002.
The Shearing Primo is gone. So everything that you see now in the pharmacy in Mexico is single dose up to 250 milligrams, nothing more, and single use, single dose applications. So it's very bodybuilder unfriendly, and it's expensive. I think a Sustanon preload is what now? $18, 15, 16, something like that.
15 to 18, and a Promotestin. Farmacias Similares, they actually sell them at Farmacias Similares now. On Mondays, you can buy them for like $7.
Yeah,
they got a Monday special. Monday special on testosterone.
They do. We'll go into Mexican marketing in a little while, but it's hysterical. The speed.
You got to go buy all your. You got to buy all your testosterone on Mondays.
Well, John. There's still after Gear Grinder, there's still veterinarian steroids, but everything now by law cannot be over 50 milligrams like it used to be before all the Quality Vet and Dencal and all that stuff came out. And even now, you have to have a prescription to get them from a Mexican pharmacy.
Well, what happened?
They locked it down.
They did, and the response. Now, this is where Mexico separates itself from the rest of the world. In response to this, the underground said, "Oh, great! We'll take care of the bodybuilder market." So instead of getting real raw materials and making real drugs, some enterprising Mexican looked at two bottles, one of Primo and one of testosterone without a label on it, looked it up and said, "They look identical. Why am I going to pay $13,000 a kilo for Primo powder when I can pay $700 for test? I'll just make 25 milligram testosterone, leave the labels off, and when I get an order for Deca, I'll stick the Deca labels on, and when I get an order for Primo, I'll stick the Primo labels on, and when I get an order for Tren, I'll stick the Tren labels on, and no one will know." And that caught on, and now probably 99% of what you find on the street in Mexico is either low-dose testosterone or nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that true, Kevin?
Well, that shouldn't say nothing. A few pathogens, a couple of bacteria,
I could remember coming here in '97, and I bought when they first made the Brovel 200 and the big 50cc bottles.
The 50cc one.
I actually had an ant floating in the bottle.
Did you really? Oh my god!
And I still took the whole bottle.
Of course. And you saved the ant.
That was one.
And you probably
proof of all this is everybody, and I've championed this cause for years that Mexico is the bodybuilder paradise for all reasons considered. The weather, the cost of living, the food, the services, everything, the legality of drugs. So why are there no giant bodybuilders on the Olympia stage? Because
you know what makes this is something I see right now because I'm connected with all these labs because I have them on Facebook and they'll sponsor like 20, 50
Cash,
different
when you
guys.
say labs, you're talking about these underground people, which could be basically a guy in his kitchen making the stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll give you an example. The guy that won the Mr. Mexico last year, he was probably 5'6" and probably weighed maybe 190. I mean, he looked like he was half the size of, Flex Lewis. And it's like, and I know the guy who won the super heavyweights, he's actually trained by Gustavo Badel. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people thought he should have won, but I think the reason why he did win because he kind of had a bad case of gyno. But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I'm 5'11", and I weigh about 275. Well, probably now about 265 in the last couple of weeks, not doing nothing. But I've been as high as 290, and I still was eating only 5 meals a day because I'm not. I wish I could eat like you, Dave. If I could do your diet, I would be 320 pounds with my eyes closed. And you don't see guys like that here. There was a Mr. Mexico a few years back that was probably 310, 320 off season, but he was like 6'2". But I always tell these people, if your drugs are so good, where's the freaks? Like John says, you don't. Yeah, you'll see. I mean, Mexico, you see guys that are just shredded, ripped. You'll see that, but you don't see, you don't see.
Yeah, but is it, John? Is it because the drugs suck, or is it because they just don't know that much about nutrition?
Well, no. I mean, there's supposed to be some top guys here, but. I think. I mean, if you can get a guy ripped, why can't you get if you can get a guy on stage ripped in full, why can't you get him ripped in full? Why is he not huge? Where's the size? Plus,
so when you go down there with your Bill Llewellyn roid test kits and start testing shit, it's like one of two things: either Llewellyn's tests are shit or the shit is shit.
Right.
So. It's not Llewellyn, let me tell you that.
Yeah,
exactly. The roid test kits are the real deal.
I know one thing
shit
right
on
now,
the street that's shit.
I'm going to have some really pissed off people in the next 6 months to the next year because I'm going to put every company on blast that I can. And not because I would try to, put them down. It's just, I see these kids at the gym and they're like, first of all, you got to remember, the Mexican income is a lot less than the States. A personal trainer here, they're charging like 3,000 pesos a month, $150 to train someone. In the States, they're charging $400 to $600.
And they train 6 people at once. And no knowledge whatsoever of how to train.
Well, that's why I'm asking: is it a lack of knowledge down there, or is it really the drugs? Because you can grow on testosterone.
It's both.
It's both. I mean, at the national level in Mexico, and there's a kid now that I think he just won like the Junior Worlds. Kid's got a great physique, like 22 years old, just full round. But you don't see that, and I just think these guys. I mean, because I'll give you an example. When I had my product out, I could give a kid that didn't eat right, didn't train legs properly, or didn't train them all, would go out and get shit-faced every weekend. And just a bottle of Deca, a bottle of Test, and a bottle of Bold, he would put on 15 to 20 pounds in 10 weeks, guaranteed. Mm-hmm. And I see someone given the exact same dosage of another company, and the guy put on like 5-6 pounds.
All right, so let's get to the point here. What companies out there that are very popular do you think are not high quality?
It doesn't go like that.
Wait a minute, John, wait a minute. What's the name of your company? What's the name of your brand?
Bionics.
Okay, I don't want to place anybody on.
Hold on, have you heard? Setting aside John, have you heard about his product line? Have you heard any good stuff or bad stuff about his products?
My line was called Matrix Labs.
I didn't ask you about your line. I asked you about John's line. Have you heard anything on the street? You live in Mexico.
I haven't heard of John's, believe it or not. But
I don't have anybody in Cancun. So.
But you know what though? A lot of people didn't hear of mine. But you know what's really weird though, John and Dave? I didn't really promote it. People would come to me and like, look, I want to buy this much volume because a friend of mine of a friend, and I would have guys from Mexico City. It's got 30 million people and they can't get good juice. And I'm like, I'm in Cancun, and I consider my lab what I call a boutique lab. I produce. It's a side business. It's a passion. And I want to, I want to give someone good product.
Is it legal to produce steroids there, John?
It's legal.
Yeah.
Well, it's a gray area.
It's a gray area.
It's a gray area.
It's a gray area.
They don't really care. Okay, so you have two factions you have to deal with. You have to deal with the narcos, and you got to deal with the cops. The cops don't care. The narcos, you usually got to ask permission if you're working in their
territory.
Well,
So I asked the main guy. His right-hand man is a friend of mine. So I asked him if they have an issue with it, and they go, they don't fucking care about steroids. Now, if I started making a couple billion pesos a month, they'll change their mind, and someone's going to come see me. But right now, they could give a shit. And the cops are only looking to pad their pockets. If they can make some money, they'll jack you up. But it's technically illegal, but nobody cares.
Well, it's kind of weird that you said this. I actually tried to contact owner of a lab to to test the products, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody. So I know a guy who was a distributor in Merida, and he goes, I don't know if you want to try to contact him. I'm like, why? He goes, well, the guy that runs it, he's a competitive bodybuilder, but the owner's a narco. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. So now I think some of the narcos, it's pocket change for them, but maybe they'll throw a couple million pesos, and they'll have some bodybuilder guy who's got some knowledge open a lab and back it, and he gets his piece. But now
for people who might not know, a narco is like a drug dealer there, right?
Yeah,
like a recreational drug dealer.
The Nueva Generación in Guadalajara is they wouldn't
like they wouldn't give a shit.
It's chump change. It's so these guys have swimming pools full of money. This is nothing to them. A couple $100,000 a month in juice is absolutely not interesting to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
what are they moving in there? Cocaine,
meth, cocaine,
everything.
Fentanyl, ecstasy, you name it.
Right.
Well, you know what? I just seen that there was a thing in the news 2 days ago. Believe it or not, because now they can't get anything from China to make fentanyl, and they're actually outsourcing, and they're trying to actually hire scientists to come work for them to produce fentanyl and meth and other. So it's like if they can't get it from China, we'll just make it locally. I seen there was because their supply chains are cut right now. I mean, Cancun is like it's locked down. Now they're telling us June 1st. We can't go back to anything. It was supposed to be May 1st. If you're not allowed to go to any grocery store anywhere without a mask on, they won't even let you in. It's like you don't have a mask.
So where do you guys get your raw materials now that China's been locked down for so long?
Well, that'll be a conversation for me and John. But
no, so you have to go someplace else is what I'm saying, which I imagine is going to raise the cost.
Well, there's two ways to look at it. The company I spoke with, they told me they're offering, and the prices were actually very reasonable per kilo. And I think it's because they're trying to gain people who are with China. And then there's going to be people that are going to jack the prices because they know China's closed. One of the companies that I dealt with for about 8 years, they told me they were going to try to reopen in either Malaysia or Vietnam within 9 to 12 months. But I know there's raw material in India. I know there's raw material in Malaysia because I've already been contacted because I threw out 1 million emails to everywhere all over. And within a week, I probably got 100 responses from people offering raw material.
Right.
And the best one that I got was out of Germany. But they're based out of India.
Right. Now, how do you know that?
You trust India raw
I was going to say, how do you know the material's good? Yeah, exactly.
Well, I would probably just order small, 50, 100 gram samples. And actually, the one company, I actually told them that I was going to test their products to make sure it was real or it wasn't substituted. And they actually were all in favor. They didn't freak out or why do you want to test the raw materials? They're like, excellent, let us know how the tests come out. So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And
what's the name of your company, Cash?
Mine, Matrix Labs, and I closed down when I ran out of supply last November. I closed down, and I know some of the labs that are selling low quality product or just bottles of oil. I know there has to be at least 20 companies just selling bottles of just pure oil.
What's a popular brand in Mexico that might even have made its way into the U.S. that we might know of that's not high quality, that's low quality?
You can't ask that question because they change their names every 2 weeks.
Oh.
Well, the ones that have been around for a long time, XT Labs. I'm sure you've heard of them, right?
Oh, yeah, XT, Omega,
but you know what though?
Calstoga, Ciroc, all those brands.
I don't think XT or XT. I don't think their product is legit because any person I've ever done business with on a distribution level, they would contact me, because they know I'm American, and supposedly the owner of XT is American also, and they're like, well, if you're doing business with this guy, we don't want to do business with you. And when he's selling wholesale, Primo Ballin for $18, wholesale for a bottle of Primo, and then they're selling it for $35. It's fake.
There was one of these groups of geniuses was selling. It didn't matter what it was 200 pesos a bottle.
Well, that's the big thing right now. I seen one's Dragon Pharma. It's like a silver box with red. Another one called Texas Labs. We know they're not in Texas.
Right.
It's like everything you want over 50 bottles, 350 pesos, which is like right now $18.
Wow.
So doesn't matter if it's Test, Primo, Trend, Bold, Anavar.
Is that because it's all testosterone propionate?
Which is impossible.
It's probably all test propionate.
You're preaching to the choir. I mean, and now getting doing these kits where we can test raw powders, orals, injectables. I know I'm going to put a lot of people on blast, but supposedly you said Omega. I mean, Omega's been around for like 10 years.
I took a sampling of XT, Omega, Calstoga, Ciroc, Red Dragon, with the green one. What's that one? I can't think of the name. About 10 of them. Tested all of them with Llewellyn's kits. Everything was not what it was supposed to be.
Wow.
I didn't get one. I didn't get not one back positive.
Did you get anything with what was everything test propionate or nothing?
Well, those kits don't tell you what it is.
Yeah, they do. Oh, yeah, they do. Sure, they do.
No, the one I had would just tell you if it was yes or no. If you tested for Primo, it would either say positive or negative.
No, you know what a lot of people don't realize is if you test for Primo and it comes, you got to look at what the colors are and check the other compounds, and it'll tell you what it actually is. People don't realize that.
Through other testing, it came back. The 2 or 3 of them came back at low dose test.
Yeah, usually it's test propionate in there. Yeah.
John, you remember Astrovet? It was like the first lab that came out. All right. Now here's something that I don't know if you know. Well, I heard Omega, some of the other companies, because Omega, they used to be an MD Latino, full page ad.
Yep.
I heard, and I've heard this for years, that not only do you have the Mexican labs making underground, but then you also have companies making copies of the underground, and you can get them in Tepito for like $5, $10 a bottle. You know, the same thing with supplements. You can go and get fake bottles. I remember there was like fake bottles of Dimetized protein powder like years ago where, $15 a bottle wholesale, the kid's selling out of the back of his car for $15. How you sell it for $15 when it's $25 wholesale? It's the same thing, if you had, species in Mexico, you might have people trying to put fake bottles of species out because
absolutely true. That would definitely happen.
Right. That's why I use very expensive shrink labels that go around the whole bottle because it's very hard to fake those. They're really expensive. People wouldn't waste their time. The sticker labels are really easy to knock off. And that's why I don't use the sticker labels. I know a lot of companies use sticker labels because they're cheaper. I try to keep it a higher end, even the way it looks, because once again, people don't want to go through the trouble of making shrink sleeves and then having to find actually a machine that shrinks them. It's not easy to do that. So that's why, companies that have higher quality products, whether it be in pharmaceuticals or anything like that, do that because they want to have a higher end appearance as well as what's in the bottle as well. So that does save me. Whereas I know Dymatize, I think, has just a sticker on there, which is probably a lot easier to fake. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing the shows also is you guys are confirming everything that I know, because I have all my clients test their stuff with the Roy test kits that I actually am the main distributor in the US for, Bill Llewellyn, so I have them at DavePalumbo.com. And I'm telling you, with GH, probably less than 50% is real. With the anabolics, I would say maybe 50 to 60% is real. And out of Mexico, I would say 30% is real. At least this is from the feedback and data I'm getting from my clients. So there's a lot of crap out there. If you are stupid enough not to test your stuff, and you believe your good friend who says the stuff is good, you're a moron. Because this stuff is not being made in the lab. It's being made in someone's kitchen. It's very easy for that person to say, you know what, it's quarantine, I'm not making as much money this month, I'm going to water the stuff down, or I'm not going to put anything in there for this one batch so I can make some money back, and then next batch I'll put stuff in there. So you got to test every new lot number, because just because last lot number was good doesn't mean the new one is good.
Lot number?
Oh, yeah.
What lot number?
You know what I'm saying? Batches. I don't know if
when
people actually even put numbers on them anymore, but
there's no such thing as lot numbers.
I put lot numbers on my products.
Yeah, no,
I
do too. But with the MO down there is they print the label with the lot number already on it. So you're printing 5,000 labels with a lot number on it.
Yeah.
Here's my philosophy in Mexico. The prettier and more scientifically, safe the packaging is, with all the security, the more percentage that the product is fake.
Really?
And Dave, you gave that 30% figure from Mexico. That's just if it tests positive for what's on the label. It doesn't give you concentration.
True.
So
the new test will be doing that. The clenbuterol test actually can tell you how much is in there. The new testosterone tests coming in a month or so should be able to tell you that as well, hopefully.
From Llewellyn?
Yeah.
I tried getting him to do that like 3 years ago.
They couldn't do it. They can do it now.
So, Dave, it's going to show if it's real or fake, plus it'll show if it's a substitute, and now it's going to show the dosage?
It's going to show ranges of milligrams, yes. So you'll be able to at least get an idea, of how, at least for we're going to start with the testosterone ones. The clenbuterols already do that. The clenbuterol will tell you if it's a high dose, up to snuff, middle of the road, or low, which is great.
You know what? You should have them do like test and anthate, obviously, because it's the base test.
All the tests will do that. All the testosterones will be giving you ranges.
Tren acetate and Primobolan would be two other ones that'd be perfect.
Well, Primo's easy because it's all fake, so you don't really need to do that for the Primobolan. There is no real Primobolan out there, guys. I'm sorry to say.
Mine is real.
You actually make it? You spend the money?
I refuse to make anything that's not
right. But why do you make it at all? You should just not even make it. It's so expensive.
Because I started out in this. I was making the shit for my own clients, and then I got other trainers that said, "Hey man, I really want some friend of mine is on your shit and he loves it. Can I get some?" And then I had my whole distribution network.
I started the same way.
Now, it's important. I want to just preface this to everyone and to all the DEA agents watching this. You guys do not sell the stuff in the United States. It's only sold in Mexico. Don't contact John and ask him if he can get it over the border. He doesn't ship it to the U.S. They don't smuggle it. It's sold in Mexico. If you want the stuff, you go to Mexico.
You can go smuggle it yourself.
Also remind them that I do not sell in the United States because I really don't need...
Well, you live in Mexico, yeah.
Okay, I don't need another Operation Gear Grinder, please.
There you go, yeah. He's been arrested once before.
Nothing.
He doesn't need to be arrested again, right?
Nothing.
Right.
Zero. Nothing.
Yeah, if someone's got 3 bottles in their rectum and they take it across, that's their business.
Now, let me ask you a question. What if you guys decided to start making like Nubane and selling it? Is that illegal in Mexico? Would that be something that people would get upset about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody would use it.
No?
Well, you know what? I'm going to go back to when I had my website for a few minutes. Believe it or not, guys, when I was at the peak and business was literally going through the roof, then we started getting emails, because back then there was no WhatsApp. Everything was email or phone call. And I had probably 50 to 100 emails a day within the first 6 months of being open asking for Nubane and asking for Oxycontin. And I was like, I am not going to get in.
Yeah,
and then,
it's
of course,
too sketchy, yeah.
And then, of course, another thing, too, was ketamine. They were asking for ketamine, like, if you can send me 1,000 bottles of ketamine, I'll take 1,000.
Bottles.
No, I got to tell you this story because, John, you're going to laugh. I had this guy email me, and then he left a number. And because when you went into the site, you had to put in your name, blah, 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 and it would show your phone number. So I called the guy, and it was a Russian guy in Brighton Beach, New York. And with a heavy accent, he was like, do you have ketamine? And I'm like, yeah, we have it because we're a legal vet pharmacy. And he goes, can you send me 1,000 bottles a week? And I'm like, and my partner.
That was going right to Robbie Lopez for right?
Well, my partner's eyeballs were like, cha-ching, and I'm like, because we were probably making, $20 a bottle wholesale, profit, 1,000 bottles a week. My partner was like, take the order, because, we could get it legally because we had a veterinary license. And, I was like, once you started getting into narcotics and, Oxycontin, I would not feel right giving those people those kind of drugs. I'll be honest with you, I've done a lot of different jobs, worked a lot of companies. I actually would be done at the end of the day. It didn't matter if I made $500 a day or $15,000 a day. I never felt bad about what I was doing. I actually remember this because I wanted to tell you guys this. I actually had a kid, and I can remember this like it was yesterday. His mother calls me and goes, I want to thank you for helping my son. One, because I know either he's going to get it with or without you. You took the time to tell him what to buy. You didn't sell him a bunch of stuff. You just sold him a basic cycle. And you know what? And you didn't rip him off. And I never felt bad. The kid was 20 years old. So what do you prefer? Him getting real stuff or buying it in the gym, paying triple, and some guy rips him off and sells him bottles of, Crisco? So
that mother obviously was not doing her job.
But I mean, the thing is, if your kid's going to take it, and I wouldn't sell to no one under 20 years old. Some high school kid called me up. Right. I'd be like, hang up the phone, call me back in 4 years. But, this is something that people take. They're going to take it with or without you. And if at least you can make sure they're getting real product, what is the damage? And if you, I didn't just sell it. I also tried to school people on how to take it from, what I learned.
John, where do you draw the line in terms of when people call you up in Mexico and ask for certain products? Like, what products do you make and not make?
I only make 7 products.
What are they?
I make Deca. I make Boldenone, Sustanon. Well, Sustanon mix. A blend.
Yeah.
Tren, Propionate, Masterone, and Primabol. Yes, Primabol.
So all injectable.
All injectable.
Why don't you make an injectable D-ball? That's a great drug.
But the problem is that's a great idea. It's a great product. The problem is you got to educate the whole Mexican market.
Yeah.
And I already give seminars and teaching consultations and everything and whatever I can. And the knowledge base is so low there when it comes to this stuff that you really have to start at the absolute ground floor. So to put anything out there exotic beyond the 7 products that I produce is an absolute waste of time.
John, what?
And
yeah.
If I was living there full time, it would be a different story. I'd be able to commit, more time to education and marketing. But I don't have that. I right now I'm satisfying a need. There's a need for those products. It's cyclical because of contest season. So I double up on some things at certain times of the year than others. And that's it. It's basically what my trainers. And the funny thing is that most trainers, their predominant clientele is housewives, women, and and almost 100% of them are on shit.
Really?
But you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. And when I try to tell people, what scares me the most is, all the trainers put all the women here on Winstrol. Why? I don't know. It's only Winstrol, and that's it. And I know you hear it a million times, John. And I'm like, okay, if you're gonna put them on Primo or Anavar, put them on at one time on Primo. Or this is just the woman who wants to maybe be like a bikini, maybe a little amateur fitness, whatever. But if all the Primo and all the Anavar pretty much is fake, that means they're probably getting nothing or they're getting tests. And I have seen girls here with cystic acne, and their skin is so bad, and they have that smell, when they're on like tests, and it's like, oh, but I'm only taking Primo, and I'm like, no, you're not.
That's a good point. You see it at all the shows down there. You go backstage at the shows, and the girls from 50 feet away look okay. then you get up to them. The cystic acne is one. They got a voice like Darth Vader on here, and their hair's falling out. Most of them are wearing wigs. What are you on?
When you got a girl comes up to you and she's 5'2" and she's like, "Hola, cómo estás?" You're like, really?
And she's got a thicker beard than you do. But,
yes.
John, back in the day, I don't know if Dan was doing it, Duchesne was doing it, or someone. What were those designer combination drugs? Remember they would have those bottles with like 5 different steroids in them. What were they called?
Well, I've done that. I'm sorry. I've actually.
But Dan made a few of them, didn't he? There was a couple, like 2 or 3 of them that were like well known.
He didn't make them. He gave you the recipe for them. So he would suggest. You mix this, and his thing was you would take your whole cycle and you'd shoot it all into one giant bottle, and then you'd pull out.
I was making for myself and some of my close group of people. Like, I would just take a bottle and put a white sticker on it, and like, Jorge, 100 milligrams of, Primo, 100 milligrams of Masteron, 100 milligrams of, test propionate, and it would all be in that bottle because they're shooting so much shit. So if I could cut down the oil amount. But, or I would make myself, high dose, 200 milligram Primo, 150 milligram Tren, acetate. I made some milligram dosages sometimes so high just to try it, because how many companies have you seen in Mexico? Oh, we have a 600 milligram test. Okay. And they shoot it and they don't feel nothing. You remember the test 400s, the Dencals? Yep. You shot that, and your ass was sore for like 5 days.
Mm-hmm. I felt like I had the flu after one shot of I took a 400 milligram shot. I never did it again, ever again. It was the worst feeling.
Dave, there's companies here quoting that they have 500 milligram Decas and 600 milligram tests. I would never try.
Is it possible to solubilize that many milligrams in a CC?
You can't put 600 milligrams in oil without using a ton of solvent and ethylenate.
I've done as high as a 400 test, obviously, and I've done a 400 Deca, and it hurt a little bit. But I mean, these companies say
why is it hurting? Is it the thing that you use to solubilize the drug?
Yeah, you got to put a ton of solvent in there.
Yeah, you got to put the benzylbenzenate with the
benzylbenzenate,
the benzyl alcohol.
So that's what hurts.
I always, believe it or not, I get all my raw oils. I get them out of Miami. I bring them in because I'm scared to buy anything from Mexico.
Right, but the oil is legal. But let me ask you this question: what is hurting? Is it the drug that's too concentrated, or is it the solubilizing agents?
The solvents. I agree with John. It's the solvent.
Yeah.
It's not the powder.
One thing I used to do is I do every time. It's our tradition. And it's actually our most popular product, is that I get about 6 liter runs through a filter cartridge in the filtering station. And so if I'm only doing, 2 liters of Tren, let's say, and then I'm going to switch to 2 or 3 liters of Boldenone, what I'll do is as the pump is pumping the new batch into the filter, I'm draining that off, and so I'm getting a mix of Tren and Bolden, and I put that in a separate thing, and I do that through the whole run, and I keep dumping it in the same thing, so that by the end of the run, I have 7 different things in 7 different items in the oil, and
just a little cross contamination.
And what do you label that as? Like the Romano brew?
I do that to prevent cross contamination. I wait until it comes through, and then I pull it off, and then we go back to the.
I bet you someone would pay big money for that little runover bottle there.
That runover bottle is very popular.
Hey, we talked about this last time. I actually purchase in the 5-gallon jugs, and I bring it in from Florida through a medical supply. I get the filtered grapeseed oil, and I buy it pre-filtered. So because it literally doubles in price.
$300
filtered. I think it's like $5.95 now for 5 gallons.
I'm paying like $380 for five gallons of filtered USP.
Now here's the same company and some of the companies in China that were making pre-mades before, like some of the companies that would sell raws, they would make pre-mades.
Finished
now
product.
The thing is they're using pre-filtered USP MCT oil. What do you think about that? Because me and Dave talked about that last time, and I don't know, and I know it's a lot more expensive to go that route, but supposedly it's supposed to be even better. What do you think?
I think it's a novel idea. The thing is though, it's the wrong market. The Mexicans aren't going to go for it. It
would bring the price up literally about $2-3 per bottle.
The question is, why don't pharmaceutical companies use it? Is it a price thing, or is it the fact that it's not as effective at holding maybe the product in solution?
I've always used the filtered grapeseed oil. I think it's great personally because it's a lower viscosity oil.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the companies using that cheap cotton oil or peanut oil, and it's just thick. And I could remember doing 300 Deca 400 test and 100 Tren 3 cc's, and like literally no pain the next day from the oil. Just no lumps. It disperses very well.
Where do you guys see the steroid market going in the next 5 years, whether it be in Mexico or the U.S.? Are we going to continue to get things from China underground, or do you think that there's going to be something that replaces that?
Honestly, I think China, and especially now with all this coronavirus, I think it's going to be tough. I mean, I hear people say they're still getting stuff out of China. I just don't believe it. Honestly, I don't.
China is my contact in China, and I have two of them. My two contacts in China have both told me independently that they are not allowed to send out anything scheduled. Nothing that's scheduled raw material can get sent out. You can get Cialis powder, you can get Viagra powder, you can get antibiotic. You can go, and as long as it's not scheduled, 1, 2, or 3, you're not getting it.
Wow.
Yep, I heard. And some of the contacts that I had for years, like they just disappeared. Like I had their WhatsApp, their Skype, their email, and it just gone.
Is that because the federal government there is cracking down on that, or is it because of this? Do you think I don't think the coronavirus has anything to do with it? Do you?
No, this was before the coronavirus. They actually tried to do this a year ago, and then they postponed it. And then I heard in July that it was coming. And then I found a website where it was in Chinese and a PDF, and you could download it and translate it. And the list is extensive. It's not just anabolics, peptides, hormones, SARMs. It's a lot of other pharmaceutical.
It's everything. It's everything that's scheduled by the DEA. You can't get any DEA scheduled raw materials out of China.
So now is everyone going to go to India and Pakistan? Is that the next place?
That India, Pakistan, Iran actually has what's going to happen is that if China continues the export ban, the need is going to create creativity, and somebody's going to come in and fill the gap because it's huge. People don't understand how big the steroid market is worldwide.
It's billions and billions.
So why isn't someone doing it in Mexico, John? Why aren't they manufacturing the stuff there directly?
The raw material?
Yeah.
It may come to that. Who knows? But right now they can't do it. They can't do it to the level that China's doing it. So China.
What do you think, John? Should that be our next project? We should open up.
You got to hire Patrick Arnold and bring him down to Mexico and put him in a lab with a beautiful little setup and all his little chemical lab stuff he needs, and let him go.
I don't think he likes me enough for that.
I'm gonna tell you what I had. I had a full line of. I had about 12 injectables. I had a sublingual clenbuterol and a 20 and a 40 microgram, which was, I mean, like, it was. I mean, I used to know guys like I went to the gym, came home at 8 o'clock at night, and 1 o'clock in the morning I'm painting my house because they couldn't sleep. It was that strong.
Well, yeah, but clenbuterol really shouldn't be keeping you awake. It's not really a stimulant, but you know. Who knows?
These guys are like, oh, because they're, I tell them to take 40 micrograms, and they're taking like, 120 at 8 o'clock
that's
at night.
crazy. Yeah, that's nuts.
And a lot of the MMA guys here were taking it that I had, and it was like crack to them. And it was like, I'm like, you're taking it for the wrong thing. And they were trying to produce orals and a sublingual here also. I don't know if it's going to work.
Well, clenbuterol was always made in Mexico. You guys had Spiropen for years. That's where everyone got it.
For years. No, but they're talking about like oral Anavar, oral Anadrol, and a sublingual liquid form.
I don't know why they don't. The Mexican government would make a fortune doing it. I don't.
No. The problem with Mexico is the Mexicans. That's the problem. Okay,
John. My wife is Mexican. Please, she's gonna watch it. She's gonna watch this video.
Some of my best friends are Mexican, and they all agree with me. Okay.
Yeah.
Did they ever tell you? They ever tell you the story about the crabs, the Mexican crabs, and the German crabs, and the American crab baskets? Okay. This completely illustrates my point. You're at the fish market. There's 3 baskets. 2 of them have a cover on it, and 1 of them doesn't. They're full of crabs. German crabs have a cover on it. United States crabs have a cover on it. Mexican crabs, no cover, and there's no crabs getting out of the basket. So the guy asks the fish guy, he goes, "What's up with the crabs? How come you got to put a top on the American ones and the German ones?" He goes, "Because they'll get out." He goes, "Why won't the Mexican ones get out?" He goes, "Well, as soon as one of the crabs climbs up to the top and is ready to go out, the rest of the Mexicans yank them back down."
But you know what though? My wife, she's bilingual. My son was born here. He goes to international American school, and my wife being she does real estate law, and that's my main business is commercial real estate investment. And even she has a hard time dealing with her own people. It drives her crazy, and she's like, "Thank God I'm married to an American." It's like because it's like you can look at something like what we could open up a business and put out 100% quality product, and we would have to fight and beg and scratch for distributors.
Yep.
And once they have the product, they will call us every day, like your product's so good, I'm going to name my next child after you. But you got to get them on board first because they're so closed-minded. I'm going to buy that the $25 bottle of Primo instead of buying your $50 bottle of Primo wholesale.
People cheap out all the time. Guys, I got to wrap this up. I got some other programming to do, but I want to thank you guys. We can continue this conversation in a part 2, but thank you for kind of giving us an overview of what's going on in Mexico, what the future holds, and Cash will get you back, and John will we get you back all the time. But I like this discussion because I think it's going to completely evolve as the Chinese situation evolves, and I predicted I think we're going to start seeing a lot of the raws coming from India and Pakistan and maybe the Middle East, John, like you suggest, because that seems to be the next big place to do, I guess you could say, cheap raws, okay, which is what we're looking for here because the labor is so cheap over there.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's wrap this History of Bodybuilding Steroids, Episode 1 up for today. I'm Dave Palumbo with Cash Morone and John Romano. We'll see you next time.